You guys are pieces of shit. I'm gonna sue you dumb bitches for millions now.
What's your name and badge number?
Yeah,
I don't like your f***ing attitude already.
it's okay.
Each one of these jackboot thugs sitting here now is literally a Nazi.
Listen to me real fucking carefully.
Sir.
I ain't Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat shit, sweetheart.
You is not gonna put your hands on me, bro. I swear to God, you's not, dude. You is not. I'm not going across the street, you coward.
This is definitely a public area. You done violated my First Amendment rights. You done violated me.
Look it up. No, look, I walk this way. No, I walk this way then.
Say it to my face. I bet you won't. Where the hell's Ming Ling? No! He's very horny.
I actually don't have to answer any goddamn questions because I have a Fifth Amendment right.
Now that tells me he wants to shoot me. That tells me he wants to riddle my body with bullets.
You're gonna piss me off, buddy boy, you're gonna learn.
Trash cop, pig, checking out the public space. Ooh, you got the Hershey Kisses. Awesome.
She's kidnapped me now. That's kidnapping.
Touch me again. Touch me again. You're calling the fucking cops? Yeah, fuck off, asshole.
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna close the door. I don't care. I don't care. Go with me. Go with me. I don't like you.
Buddy what? I ain't your buddy. Your buddy's in your fucking... Your buddy's in your pants. I ain't your buddy.
I'm not gonna slow anything. You don't tell me what to do, sir. This is my freedom of speech. You don't like it? Get to work.
Get your face out of my face. No,
get your hand out of my face.
You came up to me.
Your hands are in his face, sir.
Tell your boy, he puts his hands on me again illegally, I'm gonna fuck him up.
I'm here doing my job, working 12-hour shifts every day.
Yep, I'm doing my job.
You're dark. Basically, shut your mouth and go back to work.
What's your name?
What's your name?
It's my right. I make the quadruple as you. Have a nice day. You're rude. You look miserable in life.
I'm not detained. I'm not a suspect. If you touch me, we're gonna have problems. You're right. I'm allowed to defend myself.
You're a fucking lesbian. I'm gonna put my dick in you.
I'm suing everybody.
And here we are.
Hello.
Hello, David. What's up, man?
Greetings. How are you?
I'm just gonna quickly point out this is already a super chat from Scott Fraser. $8.
That's nice.
Thank you very much. Any donation is appreciated, even if we're not. I feel like sometimes, like when I mention those things, like I don't want to sound like a grifter, like a frauditor. But every dollar is put back on the channel, so it's always appreciated. Thank you very much. I'm suing everybody. Yeah, so tonight I'm not with Mr. I'm not doing my 1A Friday with Will because Will today was celebrating the, how can I say, just the victory, the total destroy session that was the Super Bowl. So Will.
You mean the World Series? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the Super Bowl. So since Will is from Philly, he was probably destroying the old city of Philadelphia today with his Philly citizens. So that's why tonight I'm just gonna do something different. I'm gonna do a little let's chat with my guest David Pearson.
Hey, that's me.
The legend. This is not a drill with a hammer on his picture. So I don't what. See, we only tore up the city slightly. I tried to climb 2 poles. It's not like somebody that kind of died yesterday climbing a pole, by the way. I'm just saying it's kind of dangerous, buddy. Don't do that. Mr. Thomas, what's up, Exposer? My whole buddy. Yeah, I know. I don't see I have Will tonight in school. It's not like he has any other plan. No, I think he's back home now, but he's probably wasted. Yeah, so, He's
I bet he has a little bit of a headache, at least.
A little bit of a headache and probably some physical consequence from this day in Philadelphia. I don't know how people were. I didn't check. Philadelphia is a very intense city, as we know. So hopefully everything was nice and friendly. City of brotherly love. So how was your week, David? You got a good week?
It was long. It was when you're in education, there are days like that. We're getting ready for standardized testing to start, and all our students are like, I don't want to do that. We have to calm them down and get everything ready and get all the testing set up. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it was a good week. They usually are. I got a new pen, so that's good. I found a fountain pen that I've been looking for a long time. I managed to find a guy who had one, and I actually got it at a pretty good price. So I'm happy about that.
Life change. Wilson, I'm not talking over. That's what y'all insinuate. Yeah, of course, that's what we all insinuating. He tried to climb 2 poles, Mr. Thomas. Come on, please. Let's keep it nice. This is a friendly family show. Yeah, I got a good week too. I made a couple of videos this week. I really, sometimes I start my week with a theme and I don't realize it. And this week I made a video about moron, like real R word moron.
Well, there are a lot of morons out there too.
Yeah, but I really went deep. I went useless this week because last Friday we did a top tier list of the most useless frauditor, and I inspire myself for this week. Three of the finalists were on my video this week. Lucky Laptop News, GC News Now, and the worst of the worst.
I do have to say something nice about Lucky Laptop. At least, I think was it Lucky Laptop? No, it wasn't. Was it Taco Terry? Which one stood up to the vet, to the angry vet, and told him he was full of it? Was that Taco Terry? Maybe. I think I was Taco Terry. Whoever it did, they needed to stand up to that guy. So
a lot of them did actually. A lot of them. Oh wait, I have a little. Not a grift. I love your channel. Thanks, guys. Scott Fraser again. $10. Look, man, it's very, very appreciate. Thanks a lot. I rarely receive super chat. I don't request it, but when it happens, I'm always happy, surprisingly happy. So thanks a lot, Scott Fraser. And
it's always nice support. To get free money.
Yeah, it's nice. It amazes me that people spend time, but actual money to on my stuff. It's something that I'm always pleasantly surprised. I'm very, very, very humble. Every freaking dollar or everything, every time I receive a comment, anything, I'm like, that's cool. That's really, really cool. All right. So tonight, David, we thought we're gonna talk about one of the big topic in the frauditing community. Something that we didn't talk yet, the in public thingy, where they always say, I'm in public. And I thought you're the one came up with the topic this week. You wanted to talk about that, and I think it's very interesting, actually.
Well, I think it's how much they abuse it. So, I mean, it's something we ought to talk about.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand this. It's a big lie when they say they're in public and they're inside like an agency, an office, or anything, because they're not. And I asked a lawyer today, like, what it is to be in public, and he just said it's something that was made to be publicly accessible without any type of restriction or anything. So obviously we talk about a park, town square, a sidewalk, all those things. So as soon there's like limitation, like a door, like a building, like something, then it's no longer in public.
Usually a hint, a gate.
Exactly, anything like that. So he says, like, even like if it's a private place, let's say you have a condo, a building, sometimes they have a front tiny square, with park bench. Well, it's expect that some people from the street are just going to sit on those bench because there's absolutely no limitation. Right. If the same space is inside court, so inside of then you cannot go. So it says it's always gray area, but it's it's simple. But even in public, so sidewalk, park, town square, whatever, there's still limitation. There's still policies. A park closed at night. You know what I mean? Some park you can have a barbecue, some park you cannot, and stuff like that.
Right. And
so even when you're in
get a permit, and some places you have to
exactly. So even when you're in public, you still need you still have rules. You still have you still have policies. You still have stuff to follow. So how come when you get in a building, all that will fall, and then suddenly it's all free for all, and anybody can? It doesn't make much sense,
Well, so, I think part of it is because they realize a lot of people, especially people who work in some of those buildings, don't know the law. They don't know. Yeah. They don't understand. Let's go back to the favorite that everybody likes to harp on, Poster 7. What does Poster 7 actually say? It says the postmaster has pretty much absolute authority in the post office. Period.
Yeah, that's right.
But that, they just read the parts of Poster 7 they want to read. And, you can edit anything to say anything at any point. And that's not what Poster 7 says at all.
It's even more frustrating with the post office because they're independent agency. You know, they're not financed. They're financed themselves by their services and everything.
Right, and also that's one thing to point out. The post office has got a weird place in the law. It is not a government agency, but it is a government. It's a government business in a way. It supports itself. It has to pay its own bills. It's not a public. It's not publicly controlled or publicly held. It's a private. It's a government monopoly. And there's a good reason for that, because if think about what would happen if we had 24 post offices all competing with each other. It'd be a mess.
Exactly.
It's bad enough when we got UPS and FedEx and DHL and all those guys. And think about how that gets sometimes. But the post office, while it is a government monopoly, it is not a government agency. It has not gotten any federal money since the 70s. And so it's at least any budgeted federal money since the 70s. And people need to realize that. They don't have a right to just walk in there and do whatever the hell they want. Just because they have a camera does not mean they have the authority to do diddly squat. Being a taxpayer gives you the authority to do one thing: pay taxes. That's it.
That's it, exactly. To be part of the system where you pay your taxes and the government spend them on stuff, and that's it. That doesn't give you any other right. And the camera doesn't give you
civilized society.
The camera doesn't give you anything. Like, this is silly. A journalist cannot just like walk everywhere like that, filming, say I'm a journalist. And a camera is not like necessary to do the journalist work. So it's very, very silly.
A lot of these guys. A lot of these guys. I imagine. I don't know a whole lot of journalists personally, that closely, but I would imagine it makes a lot of journalists absolutely crazy, hearing them compare themselves to actual journalists.
Of course.
Sorry, I hate to break it to you, but Sean Reyes and Josh Abrams are not journalists. End of story.
No, they're not. And running a YouTube channel, it's been established, I think, by the
Goat Boy, not a journalist.
Supreme Court of Washington. I think that it was not being a journalist.
Yeah, Greene County versus somebody.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. The Supreme Court of Washington is very well established case law now about that.
Exactly. So it's not being
work product. You have to have a tertiary contract. There's several things you have to have. Slapping a YouTube channel up there and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go record somebody." No.
So exactly, they're not journalists. But even if they were, that doesn't guarantee any right of just walk in a building and just film whatever. Inside those buildings where they have like services, the people have a right to privacy, because you're no longer in public. You're in non-public forum. So people that goes in a DMV or whatever, like they expect some privacy, so they can like freely expose their information to do their business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cannot like a junkie or a moron just 5-6 foot behind you. They're just gonna zoom in on your stuff and listen to everything you say.
And that is, and I think one way I think the police could address it that they haven't really done much with is there are a lot of states. There are two kinds of recording laws for the most part in the United States. There are one-party consent laws and two-party consent laws. And in country, in a lot of the country where there are two-party consent laws, you have to have that person's consent before you can even turn your camera on.
Yeah.
And I wish they would hit that harder, because they could really, at the very least, get them to stop recording right away. Because in a lot of states, that's a felony. If you remember back to when Linda Tripp recorded, what's her name, the Monica Lewinsky, that turned into a big legal deal, because Linda Tripp recorded her in Maryland, which is a two-party consent state, and she got in big trouble behind that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's true that they don't know, though, and that's the kind of proof that your rights, constitutional rights, is not going anywhere. Is that people don't really. You're free to not know them, like exactly. You know what I mean? You're free to not know all the amendment and everything, because that freedom is given to you. You're a citizen. You have those freedom. The only time it's becoming a problem is the government want to take them away from you. So,
and one thing that really honks me off about these guys, especially Anselmo, I think is the one that does this a lot, is this, well, tell me what the Third Amendment is. Well, does it matter that much? I don't have any soldiers in my house.
Who knows his constitution? Who knows is like Scott Fraser from Australia that's in the chat right now. Do you know every freaking amendment or article or whatever in your constitution? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows everything. It's insane. You know the big
The Australian Constitution is a lot longer than ours, but that's another story.
If you know your constitution like point by point, that's because you're in a country where like there's problem. Like, you need to know those things because they try to get them away from you. If you're in the United States, you can live like, without even caring about those things. But that's the kind of proof that your right are there and they work. Right. You know what I mean? You don't have to think about it. They're there.
I have seen several debates where people, I think Hezekiah did this one time on Fraud or Files. He asked these guys, which rights exactly are you worried about losing?
Yeah. Yeah. Which one? Which one? Because well, if I cannot film anymore, well, you're filming right now, and it's okay.
Yeah.
The problem is never
taking you to jail. I mean, come on.
No. And the problem is never the camera anyway. It's always the way they do it, because I know I'm a videographer and I mention it many times. I film in a lot of places in my life. Not once, never, ever did I like any problem at all. Did I saw a cop? I never saw a cop. Showing up at where I work and be like, hey, what's happening? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Never, not once. So they create the situation. They're acting in a way that they look suspicious and they look shady, and they don't put that in camera most of the time.
Right, and the way those guys edit all those, I mean, they have so many edits and quick cuts and things in their videos. I wouldn't trust their videos for anything.
Oh my god, no. So once they're in a building, a private building, government building, whatever, once you enter a building, you are no longer in public per se. Yes, you can be in a government-owned property. That doesn't make it in public. That can be publicly accessible, which of course is going to have some difficult. You cannot just freely be there. You cannot just get in a lobby of a DMV and start a barbecue with your friend like in your freaking park. That doesn't work like that. Everybody understand that.
Well, you have to. That's part of basic loitering and trespass law. You have to have a stateable, legitimate purpose for being there. And a lot of these guys are like, "Well, I'm recording. That's my business." No, it's not. That is not why that.
It is not.
There. That is not why that particular facility was built and established. That's not why
exactly
the government has provided that space. And that does not. I mean, you have no. That's not your business.
And because a million reasons, that space has have the right to have some restriction, and they have the right to, if they judge necessary, to protect the privacy of the people that actually have business there, as we say, like a DMV or whatever. Also, what do you make about? They always say we're in public because it's been paid with taxpayer money. I mean, the amount of place that has been paid with taxpayer money that you cannot even get nearer,
right?
So what they do? How do they explain that? How do they explain all those facility, those research facility, those agency, those government building that we cannot even get close of those things, Fort Knox or whatever? You know what I mean? Like how frauditor deal with that?
Yeah, well, it gets back to this basic idea of property of another. In legal terms, the General Services Administration, which is the federal administrator of all public properties, and then every state has its own version of that. They're called different things, different places, but they all have a legal personhood. Basically, they are the person who owns that building. The General Services Administration is the person who has the right to that building, not any individual taxpayer. And so property of another state's very simply, and this is what got Chris, what's his name, Denver Metro Audits in so much trouble.
Cordova.
Yeah, Cordova. Thank you. His name flew out of my head there for a second.
Yeah, it's okay.
And if you read on Wikipedia, there's actually a pretty good write-up about his case. But he was saying, "Well, I'm a taxpayer, so I can go anywhere I want." No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You're a taxpayer. Yes, you might have a minuscule ownership interest in that building as a taxpayer, but so does everybody else. And you have no right of access, control, or any other right or authority in that building. You just don't. The General Services Administration does, and that's the president is elected to administer the property of the federal government. The governor or whoever in every state is elected to do that. That's why we have elections.
Yeah, and yeah. And I want to say, it's funny because I just realized, they all, in every frauditing video, you hear them at least once say, I'm in public. When in reality, they're never in public, because most of the time they're in they're not even, they're like in a lobby of like a DMV. why you don't try that like at the CIA or something like that? You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah,
supposed to
go
be
try
exact
that at
same
the White
thing.
House and see how far you get.
Yeah, like try an army or
ahead.
whatever. Like I don't understand. So there most of the time when you watch a frauditor, he's gonna be in a post office, or he's gonna fraud at people on the sidewalk, or he's gonna fraud at the bank from the sidewalk, or he's gonna fraud it. They're never ever like they're less and less and less doing what they're supposed to do. They're never in public because when they're in post office, that's not being in public. So and outside of the DMV, where do they go actually?
Right.
Some agency here and there of family, whatever, and most of the time they just, you cannot really. Some did try to go to schools, but I mean, this is absurd and creepy and silly. And
well, I never gotten the whole thing about where they're trying to audit a school. That one just evades me completely.
This is very, very dumb. Some did hospital, a couple, but I mean, again, you have like so bad taste.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things a lot of these guys don't seem to realize is that, they always say, well, the Supreme Court said we can do this. No, they didn't.
No.
There was a case called Frazier versus Evans, which coincidentally was also out of Colorado. The Supreme Court declined. It was in 2021, I think. It had to do with the right to record the police. And, the guy was arrested for interfering. He had recorded a police arrest that got pretty tough. They had to get pretty tough with this guy they were arresting. And then one of the officers came over, Officer Frazier, in Frazier versus Evans, and stated, hey, I need a statement from you about what you saw, and I need that video. And Frazier told him to go kick rocks, and so the guy, I think he arrested him, if I remember right. And it went into this whole big thing, and made it all the way up to the Federal Court of Appeals of the 10th Circuit Court, and the Supreme Court refused to grant certiorari and hear the case because they agreed. They said, no, you do not have a right to record the police like that, and you have to give up your video if the police deem it to be relevant evidence, period. But you never hear about that from them. You never hear about how the entirety of Glick versus Cunliffe. I mean, which is, that's the case that established reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. You always hear that. I think, that was Glick versus Cunliffe, and you never hear them talking about the whole case because basically, Glick versus Cunliffe is the government authority to establish anything as being reasonable. They could tell you that you need to be there at 4 a.m. wearing a tutu, and at least in theory, they have the authority to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I got off track.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm following. I'm just checking. I'm just making sure everything's going well, even with the chat and everything. I feel you see the grief like falling apart more and more in the last couple of years because, as I said, they cannot. They always say, "Oh, I can film in public and everything," but they're doing less and less. Because it doesn't work as much, it doesn't work as well, and things work less and less and less. If you take like the Tyrant Terminator, 2 years ago, that guy was walking in every freaking building you wanted. Now 50% of the time you get a door closed, and it's getting more and more difficult. So more and more you see those guys going in the street, and you see more and more frauditing of bank, which is probably one of the most absurd thing in the world. I know they don't get in the bank because they're aware that they can't, but I don't get it. I don't get that one. Like, what do you think of that?
I'd be curious to see what the chat thinks of that one because it's real. I mean, we're kind of getting into the meat of what wanted to talk about tonight. What do you guys think? Say that last part again. I think you stated that pretty well.
I just feel that sorry, I didn't. I don't even remember what I just said. I'm just speaking. I just said that I thought it was very absurd to fraud a bank because it's just a bunch of citizens in the bank. You know what I mean? There's
what I was going to get, but I think it's a bunch of citizens whose money is in that bank. And what's the first thing you're going to do if you know what you're doing at all and you're going to rob a bank? You case it, you record it.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how they would think that might be suspicious activity.
I feel you will not see that many frauditors do those kind of stunts if they would be able to actually fraud it in public like they think they can do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Another thing is when they go to like healthcare places and they say, well, I don't have to follow HIPAA. Well, that's debatable. Depending on how you read HIPAA law, you can make an inference that everyone has to follow HIPAA to a point, but it doesn't matter.
Even if you don't have
out of the building, is how they're complying with HIPAA by keeping you out of the building so you can't record and violate their medical privacy. But no, can't do that. I can record anywhere I want to. Doesn't matter what they say. I can do this. I can do that. You can't restrict me, and yet you have to restrict me. What? But that's their argument with that. I mean, HIPAA. There was one place in Boston, I think it was. There was a hospital that allowed a legitimate news crew in. And the news crew didn't get everybody's permission on the video, I believe it was, or I forget the details. But they got fined just under $1 million for letting that crew film inside their hospital without getting everyone's permission.
But even if you don't have to follow HIPAA, the guy that worked there has to follow it. And that's why he's asking you to get out. So it's the fact that you have to follow it or not, it's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is the dude working there, he has to follow it, and he has to kick you out because he has to follow it.
And so them removing you from the building is following HIPAA. So
exactly. So I don't care when they say I don't have to follow HIPAA. This is absurd because the fact that you have or you don't have to follow it doesn't change the fact that you have to get out. Because the dude asking you to get out has to follow it anyway. So anyway, it's very silly. And J-Town Press has their HIPAA filter, of course. I have a comment that's interesting. Showcasing aggressive and ego.
I was just looking at that.
Was one of thing, but barging out the same old bullshit script anywhere people gather is just old and annoying. And that's the thing. There's a big distinction for me between cop watching and frauditing.
Yeah,
cop watching might be completely useful in many situations because there's cops that did some big f up and end up scrapping the face of the dude on the sidewalk, and they don't have to, and sometimes they're gonna use force, which is okay, but sometimes they're people. And sometimes they f up, and they need to pay the price when they f up. Like that's not okay. They cannot just.
But legitimate cop watchers don't go up there and try to instigate a fight and try to get the cops pissed. There's one guy, Ironton Auditor, I think is his name. He does it really well. He does exactly how that's supposed to be done. He watches them, he records them, he doesn't get in the way. He's holding them accountable, but he's not. He doesn't go. He's not in it for clicks and views, and I think he does a really good job with it. And yes,
but it's funny because in a channel like mine, like I really don't care about law enforcement. Like they're just there in the video because that's the people they bother call. Most of the time in frauditing video, they don't bother cops. They bother people like on the sidewalk or banks worker or DMV worker, and then they call the cops. I don't care about those cops. They don't want to be there. I don't want them to be there. That's not. They're just there because they've been called. You know what I mean?
And 99.9% of those cops they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They follow the law. They follow their policies. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, even when these guys are up in their face acting like complete jackasses.
Exactly, most of the time. So I'm like, and they're the one. As soon as somebody do anything like barely touch them, they're the one who want to call the cops right away. So that doesn't make any sense, man. You have to choose. You have to pick up a side there, buddy. You want to call them if there's a problem. So you judge that they're necessary. Then it's necessary.
Yeah, Selma was really bad about that.
But when they're doing it, then it's a waste. You know what I mean? They call the cops. It's a waste of public resources. They call the cops. It's a necessity. You cannot have both way, man. It's silly. And people call me like a bootlicker or whatever on is the only bad comment I get in my comment is bootlicker. Once every weeks I have somebody that call me like that, and every time I'm like I don't care about law enforcement. That's not why I'm having this channel. I'm having this channel because those morons are just ruining it. Just bother people for no reason. That's the thing. The cops are like they're just this involuntarily necessity that I don't want them to be there. They don't want to be there. They don't need to be there. But who else you gonna call? So
that really. But one of the things about when the cops show up, that gives them. They think that gives them. All of a sudden they're going to get clicks and views because hey, now we've got a conflict, and that's what it's all about is getting conflict.
Of course. And as I say, cop watching. If you're filming like an arrestation that goes a bit overboard and everything, it might be useful. You never know. You never know. But as long you don't interfere, as long you don't jump in the situation and you start to make it about yourself, of course. Uh, Observing a situation and filming it is, I don't think it's wrong.
And what does it say that it's
And
gotten so bad that Florida had to pass the Halo law? I mean, now it is illegal to get anywhere within 25 feet of any police officer, fireman, or
Mhm.
first responder responding to anything. You can't. I mean, if you get
Yeah.
if they get within 25 feet, they commit a felony.
Oh, they should,
Which
because
is
honestly, some of them are really they're daring, like Glenn Serio, whatever. Even if it's a car crash or whatever, he's gonna jump in the middle of the situation. He doesn't care. And at one point, yeah, it's easy to point out like corrupted cop and violence and whatever, but sometimes they're doing their job, And on the side of a car crash, most of the time they're not trying to be corrupted. They're just trying to help the people. So. But they don't care.
There was a comment in there. Oh, hang on. Where did it go? I just lost the comment. Hang on.
I just want to point out a comment from Mel. Can't respond to sidewalk audits. Don't a lot of municipalities and towns have laws against just standing still on the sidewalk? Yeah, that's why it's called a sidewalk and not a side staying there all day.
Well, a lot of those have been overturned. There was a law that was used for many, 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 many years called mopery.
Mm-hmm.
And mopery was basically standing around for no good purpose, and the cops used to use that as a crime that they could arrest people for. And now the standard is more: you can't just stand around on a sidewalk with no good purpose. If you're just standing around minding your own business, that's okay. But if you're standing around causing trouble and interfering with everybody else's ability to stand around, then it becomes a big problem. But mopery was a little too vaguely unconstitutional.
See, that's why those frauditors do that. Sorry, finish. Go for it. Sorry.
No,
and that's why those frauditors does that, because there's this line where like they can just say I'm not bothering nobody by bothering everybody, and that's what's funny with those guys. They're always like, I'm not bothering anybody, but yeah, that's exactly what.
Selmo, so many of his videos will go, I'm not being disruptive. He's being disruptive. I didn't disrupt anything. I arrest him. He's being disruptive.
Exactly. It's so funny. Or the Siberian tiger who's yelling all the time, I'm not interfering. I'm not interfering. Well, you are. By yelling that you are not interfering, you are interfering. So it's anyway.
And he knows he's interfering. There's no question he knows he's interfering.
And just to go
back
to
what we're talking, he's
of course he knows. Of course he knows. That's why he's filming himself. It's just that you cannot really prove that. That's why so many prosecutors, they're not gonna do anything with that, because you're not gonna, it's debatable. Even if we know, they can still argue that it was not. Sean Reyes is so good at that, Oh, but I don't understand. Really I didn't want to bother nobody. I was just a citizen visiting. Like, shut up, man. Just shut the F up. Like, we know what you're doing, you have zero subtlety.
And let's remember, folks, that Sean
how are you going to prove that,
remember, for all of you who look up to Sean Reyes, just check out his criminal record. That's all I'll say. The man spent time in prison for serious felonies.
Yeah, well, all of them pretty much. The biggest they are, the bigger they are, the most likely they've been to jail like for serious reason at one point.
Well, I am astounded how many of those guys have got serious felonies on their record. I mean, look up assault and robbery and all. That guy in Houston that got busted. The Earl David Warden, who's in prison in Texas for the next 20-something years for for kids.
Yeah. No, it's not pretty.
People are known by the company they keep. That should tell us something.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you see them defending each other, it's like, my God, you're defending a guy with like 44 criminal charges. Like, what are you doing? Just to go back to it. Wait, I'm gonna add this thing here. Them filming is doing just that. They should be removed. Why should anyone have tolerate their behavior? I'm not narcissist. I have to for the real. I don't want to be in anyone's camera. And that's the thing, nobody want, they always say, but you're under the camera all the time when you're in public because of security camera or store camera, those camera we have on the door now, those Bing, Ring, whatever, but that's not the same. Those things are not streaming on internet, on YouTube for money. They're just there. And if something
Yeah, I mean,
happened,
none of those,
like an
none of those videos
accident, or
can be released.
then they're useful,
Yeah.
But outside of that, no one care about those cameras because
Well,
they're
and when they
not
start going on and on about, we'll see the government's recording us in the building. No, none of those videos can be released to the public for any reason without a warrant or
any
subpoena.
reason.
And
Exactly. And if it's done, they're gonna blur some stuff. They're gonna people that have nothing to do in the video are gonna be blurring everything. So it's not the same at all. Sorry, I
and
just
even
see you
then, they're
lagging.
not ever released to YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. But Sean, Sean always say, "Why you freak out with my camera? There's camera here, and I can just ask for those camera instead of filming myself." Yeah, you can, but it's gonna cost you like a lot of money, and they're gonna blur everybody that has nothing to do in the video, and they're gonna blur everything, and you're not gonna hear anything because a lot of those camera doesn't have sounds. So
Right.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's very, very silly.
And actually, there was an Illinois law that got overturned really recently. ACLU versus Alvarez. They brought a case up, and the First Amendment auditors won that one, unfortunately. But the reason they won it was the law was overly broad. It said that anytime someone turned on the sound, unless Illinois is a two-party consent state, so anyone turned on the sound and any recording, they were committing a felony by definition because they didn't have the other person's permission to record them. They can record the video, but not the audio. That did get overturned, but unfortunately. But but it's still.
And also, a lot of those camera in those agency, and they're filming the employee, not necessarily the public. A lot of those cameras in those buildings are there to monitor the employees, especially when there's like money involved and stuff like that. So a lot of those cameras point at the counter, not at the people. Anyway, so
and Will makes a good point there. I mean, they're intentionally poor quality, so that they can protect information. That's a very good point.
Of course, you cannot put like a 4K.
Not bad for a guy with a hangover after partying all day, huh? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Will. I had to take a shot.
Yeah, he's okay. He's a good. He can take a good shot on a. You have a good chin. You have a solid chin. Ain't those two, but security cams aren't going on blast across the internet. Exactly. Nobody live stream that stuff for money on YouTube. So it's very, very silly. And too many of them. There's two things that really bother me is when they say I'm in public, which we're talking tonight. No, you're not. And that's the end of it.
One person one channel that does do a lot of good videos on this kind of stuff is John Legato. I would recommend him. He does a lot of good videos on some of the laws. He was an FBI agent for a long time, and he knows a lot.
You know what the guy is? Okay, that guy, John. I don't know if you hear us right now. I mean, it took a lot of my video, and he just removed my intervention and my meme and my clip, and he just take my edit. Like, I can tell. And it's okay. You have the right to do that, man. Just contact me. You know what I mean? I'm cool with sharing. Just don't take the stuff like that, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, send me a little email. Is it okay if I take your clip? I'm gonna be like, yeah, of course, take it. I'm all for it. But I mean, but I noticed when I watched this video, I was like, man, this is my edit. This is 100% my edit. So yeah, as I was saying, like a big lie is I'm in public. No, you're not. And then they point out the camera. 99% of them do it. I hate it. It bummed me out. It pissed me off every time. Yeah, but it's okay when you film us, but we cannot film you. Like, shut. Like, oh my god, that make no sense.
Yeah, that stuff. That cam back nonsense. By the way, it is not a law. I mean, if you're a public employee and you record someone on your private phone, no, there's way too much case law that says that you can do that. And there was a famous case where they had the city council. This guy wanted to get some clerks. She started recording him because he was being a real jackass, and he filed for a FOIA request for it, and got turned down by the clerk, got turned down by the mayor, went to the full city council, and they told him to go kick rocks. You do not have, as far as I know, I don't know about every state, but I know in most states, I would be very surprised if there's any laws on the books that state you have to, that you have to hold on to your something for 30 days and it doesn't become a public record unless the city owns that phone or the county or whoever, whatever government.
Yeah, I know.
Now, I'm not positive about that. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I know there's a lot of, they abuse that a lot. You
cannot just have the phone, especially some of them like Craig. They say, I'm going to have all your phone, all your picture, all your, come on, man. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
That's
you
how it
mean Craig
works.
Henry? Well, he's a guest in the state of Illinois for a little while, like the
Yeah.
next 3 years or something.
And I want to jump to what I put in the screen right now, and this is the third thing that they say that really bum me out all the time. So as I say, I'm in public. No, you're not. Those camera are filming me. No, they're not. I mean, they're not going on internet. It's not the same thing. And that's the third thing. I cannot be trespassed from a public place without a crime.
Okay, let's clear one thing up right now. You do not have to have another crime to be trespassed. Trespassing is the crime. If they tell you to leave and you don't leave, you've committed a crime. You don't have to have any secondary crime or any. I mean, trespassing is not a secondary crime. It is a primary crime.
It's not.
And you can be busted simply for telling them to go kick rocks after they tell you to leave. Period.
That's it.
End of discussion.
End of discussion. The second they say, I would like you to leave, and you're not leaving, it's done. It's that's it. It's finished.
Trespassing is the crime. Loitering is the crime.
This is the crime. Exactly.
Is the crime.
So it's really bum me out every time they say that. I cannot be trespassed from public. Sometimes they don't even add the without committed crime. You just cannot be trespassed from public in general. No, from the sidewalk is going to be hard. From trespassing you from the sidewalk, they can make you move. But they can trespass you from any public lobby. Publicly accessible. Publicly accessible.
Well, an easement's designed to allow people to move from one place to another. An easement is not there to stand on. It's not a free pass to harass people. And they seem to think that, I mean, they don't get that part either. A public sidewalk, you can't stand there all day on a public sidewalk if you are engaged in what would otherwise be a crime.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so. See, those things are very simple, and they've all been debunked and everything. But it's the fact that people don't know those things, and it's normal that you don't know those things if you're not involved in a situation where you need to know those things. And I think that's what the frauditor does best right now. It's to educate, but educate the other side. Because before I watched video from those guys, I didn't know nothing about that either, at all.
And a lot of easements also have very specific guidelines for that easement. Each easement, when an easement is granted, it specifically states this easement is here so that this and this is here to benefit the public.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that they're just mostly like kind of shooting themselves in the foot because they're not informing nobody about what they think they're informing people. They're informing the other side, and the other side is learning more and more. And that's why sometimes I have this channel. I send my videos sometimes to people that are in my videos that the victims. I use that word like freely a little bit. They're not victim, but still. Sometimes I send them the video. Like, look, a lot of people are on your side. Actually, a lot of people think that you were right to say no. You were right to kick them out. You should have keep going with it. You should have follow through. But then it comes with the problem also. It's law enforcement. They don't want to deal with that. Talk to any people that has to deal with those guys right now. They just don't want to deal with them.
Well,
they're fruit fly, so they're extremely annoying. You cannot let them multiply too much. But I mean, you're not gonna burn the freaking kitchen because of that. And
the frauditors are right in that sense. The cops do have better things to be doing than messing with them. But so why are they making the cops mess with them? But they still have to be dealt with, and so the cops have to show up and mess with them. I mean,
yeah, I totally agree. I have this great comment from Mel. There was that one group that was following a woman around a building and harassing her. I think that there's a lot of harassment, actually. I think that a guy like Russell Pickron literally harass a woman in 90% of his video.
Oh, yeah.
He make them very uncomfortable.
Women, for one thing.
He followed them. He's being voluntarily a creep. This is, for me, unacceptable. I don't know when, I'm not like old, but, I have a certain age. When I was young, creeping out women was something you don't do, like naturally. Like men were even getting involved with that, Well,
I would like to think it's still something you don't do.
But honestly, when I watch those videos, I'm like, okay, so that's finished. This is not a thing anymore, because nobody does anything. They just let those people harass women over and over, and I'm like, this is insane. When did that become okay? So so frauditor.
Remember, we're watching videos from people who make those videos because they're doing that. That's a smallest. I imagine that's a small sliver of the entire population doing it. I imagine in general, that's probably most people look at that and just get appalled. but they're the ones out there making the videos to do this so they can make money on their videos. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, I know. But look, it's already wow. Okay, it's been 45 minutes. We're on. I'm gonna cut it short tonight because I have a little dinner. It's Valentine. Do you have a little significant other, David?
Oh, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope everybody has fun.
Yeah. So so I'm gonna cut it short, but just to finish, I think we both agree, like, the second they enter a freaking building, they're no longer in public, they're non-public forum, at least. The worst one is the one that are like in a Walmart or something like that. They say I can film because it's in public. Like those, I'm like, okay, you don't even have the base to understand what's going on here. So, but
one thing I would encourage everybody to get on, and maybe get on a reputable website, not just get on Google, but get on a reputable website and check out the public forum doctrine.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really not what they say it is. They do not have the right to just walk in anywhere because they say they do.
And for me, as long
as very specifically established, public forums are streets, parks, like public schools where have opened gymnasiums for a public athletic event. I don't know, public buildings that are open for public meetings. They are not. You cannot just walk into someone's office and say, "Oh, I'm here because it's a public building."
Yeah, it's my building, it's my office, it's my chair. Shut up! It's not. Oh my God. Okay.
But there are public forums. There are
absolutely
public forums. There are non-public forums. There are limited public forums, and these guys need to start learning the difference. One thing I have noticed that's pretty encouraging is that it seems like a lot of the cops are starting to crack down on this a lot more. So hopefully that will continue.
Hopefully it's gonna exactly. That's what they do. That's what they do. They help the other side getting better at fighting them. You know what I mean? That's what they do right now.
I did notice that Craig Henry is now listed on Wikipedia. His case, Henry versus Vermilion County, is now on Wikipedia.
They're just feeding the other side. They're so stupid. Oh my God. This is crazy. And as long I'm gonna finish with that. As long a guy like Liberty Troll or J-Town Press, they're very strong on the I'm in public, right? They use it in every one of their video. I'm in public, I can film. As long as I'm not going to see one of them getting to, the Pentagon or Fort Knox or, something like that and walk in.
Try getting into a congressional office and see what happens.
Yeah, just walk in and do it. Do your thing. Do your thing there. And at that place, they're gonna tell you at that place, you're right. You have the right to film here. It is public place and everything. As long as I'm not saying that, I'm not gonna believe none of that bullshit. And I think they're all wrong, and that's it. As long as they're gonna keep saying I'm in public, but just going to post office and DMV, you're not proving anything, buddy. Anybody can go to those places and be a dick. Go. You know what I mean? Fight the real fight, man. Show me that you believe.
Show me that you believe what you think. Hanging out at the DMV is going to be fun. I mean, what?
Yeah. So stop filming the bank from the sidewalk and stop filming the DMV and that poor Monique that tried to do her day at that job that she doesn't care. She's not a publicly elect person. She's just find a job. She doesn't give a shit. She's not government. She don't get up in the morning like a librarian getting up in the morning. Aha, today I'm gonna, corrupt the people. No, they don't. Most people that work for the government hate the government because it's very difficult to deal with the government. When you have like you work for a department that have to help people, do you think that's easy? Do you think they don't have to fight for the budget every year? Do you think they don't? Do you think they don't work for the people actually? But for real, like, come on, man! Like, and as long they're just going to do that.
Think about what these people have to put up with from the public as well. I mean, remember that one guy was Afro Boy, I think his name was, or Afro Man Audits or whatever. That guy, I mean, he was just the most abusive little dilettante troll I have ever seen. He would walk up and say, "You have to put up with everything from me, and you have to be polite and call me sir."
Like the Siberian tiger does. It's no, man. You got anyway. And but as long as I'm not going to see the Siberian tiger and J-Town Press. As long as I'm not going to see them keeping that tone and doing this to the CIA or the FBI, I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, let me say this directly.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me say this directly to the Siberian tiger. No one works for you because they happen to work for the public. They are not your public slaves. They are public employees who work for the elected officials who are elected to administer the government of the United States and the several states. Read Article 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution instead of just the First Amendment and your misreading of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's totally agree. All right, hey man, that was fun. Look, we were wondering if we're gonna take we made like 50 minutes just like that, and we can keep going.
Alka-Seltzer and a few Tylenol.
I hope Will is okay. I heard that he actually climbed a pole at one point. Just tried to climb another pole. I fell off it again. So he's doing the right thing. He's a good Philly guy in the city of brotherly love right now. All right, David. Thank you for being here. I love talking with you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Good talking to you again.
All right. Next week, Will's probably going to be back of his little escapade with his Philadelphia Eagle, and we're probably going to be back to the usual stream. Thank you for being here, guys, tonight again, and see you next week. Have a good evening. Bye.
All right. See you later.